Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another exciting edition of Pardon Our Picks, where perfection is a work in progress. I'm your host, Sam, and alongside me, as always, is your favorite host, Tarik. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty well. How about you, Sam?
I'm doing really good. Of course, this video is brought to you by Morningwood Crafter, inspired by design, crafted by hand, and Into Deep band. The band Into Deep. They have an upcoming show this Friday at Fishhead Cantina. Go check them out. They are really good at what they do. So Tarik, week 1 is in the books. It was exciting.
Yes, it was.
You got to tell me, man, what was your favorite part about the week?
My favorite part was the fact that the Broncos won and they dominated for pretty much their entire game. A lot of people doubted. Looks like I'm not judging it for the entire season yet. Yeah, they had some missteps, but they made some really good plays and looks like they finally got some pieces in play. So that was my highlight of the weekend. How about you?
Oh, my highlight of the week was not so much.
If you don't have a highlight, how about what's your biggest shock or surprise?
That's a good question. My biggest shock had to be how well the Houston Texans played. Even though they played Jacksonville, this is a team that had gutted itself, got rid of just about all of its star players. They did have a good receiver, and they picked up Tyrod Taylor, who's serviceable, I guess.
But show more emotion on your face, Sam. I can't tell how you feel.
They went ape poop all over the Jaguars, and quite frankly, I didn't see that coming.
No, and they were saying Trevor Lawrence, who's the new QB for Jacksonville, this was his first loss in like 8 years for the regular season because he never lost in college and he never lost in high school.
That is crazy.
So his first start in the NFL, he loses.
Of course, he also looks like he's in a shampoo commercial at all times. If you've noticed, the hair looks silky smooth.
Yeah, everyone else's hair is messed up, sweaty, and matted, and he's like Fabio. Like he also still looks really young.
And he
looks... So they showed a picture of like a video of him like looking, just getting frustrated at the scoreboard. And like, is he old enough to play in the NFL? Now, that's also me getting older, so everyone keeps looking younger coming in. But
I could say the same thing about Zach Wilson. I saw a picture of him. He was talking to the press, and he looked like a baby. He had the baby face. I'm like, oh my God.
Yep. So I think we're just getting old, Sam.
Yeah, I think you're right. Well, after last week, of course, we did get results for everybody for the week. Let's see how everybody finished.
All right, let's go.
Of course,
I'm in second, tied for second.
Tarik is tied for second with Brady at 8-8. Brian with an incredible 11-5 week. Really hard to do in the first week of the season, of course. And then me coming up second to last.
And my poor brother.
Third to last. Jessica with a 6-10. Tommy with a 5-11. Well, I mean, it happens, like I said, the first week can be rough, but that's why we strive for perfection here on Pardon Our Picks. As you all know, of course, our tagline.
It's a work in progress.
That's right. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to tonight's Tarik's game of the week.
All right, so what I'm looking at is next week's Cowboys game against the Chargers. So this is a really good matchup. Everyone's got opposite record, but it's only week 2. But the Cowboys, despite their loss, looked really good. They came out strong, just a little bit of mismanagement. And they changed it just a couple of calls and I think get a different kicker maybe. And they would have won that. I was telling people at work, I'm like, if they had just made those 2 to 3 field goals missed and an extra point, that's the score difference right there. So 1 field goal, I think it was 3 points missed.
They lost by 2.
2. So 1 field goal, just one of those misses. as a maid, and they would have won. So they almost had that in the bag. And then the Chargers, as we discussed, you and Brady discussed last week, they're looking really good. They got some pieces in place. So the stats on this, the gauge on it, their prediction is that they're pretty evenly matched up. So I think this is going to be a really good game to watch. I don't think it's going to be sit down. I don't think this is going to be a shutout. I think this is going to be a like back and forth, like heavy, like bloody knuckles type thing. And I've got Dallas learning from some of their mistakes last week and coming out with the win here.
I like the way you think. Dallas, of course, yeah, they looked really good throwing the ball, but with running the ball, they struggled. They were missing their left tackle, Travis Frederick. And this week, they're going to be missing their right tackle. Sorry, they were missing their left guard, not their tackle. This week, they're going to be missing their right tackle, Leo Collins. He's out for violating substance abuse policy. And the Chargers, I mean, at first they did struggle a little bit against a Heineke-led Washington team who almost won that game. It was kind of close, but their defense is a stout defense. So Washington was a difficult team to beat. Dallas, of course, almost dethroning the Super Bowl champs in week 1, which would have been funny to me, Tom Brady going down.
Yeah, you would have just you wouldn't have been able to put your arms down. Like, yes.
Even though I predicted Tampa Bay to win that game, I was really rooting for the Cowboys to come back and win that game. Of course, they left too much time on the clock for Tom Brady.
Well, they gave Tom Brady way too much time at the end of the game.
Exactly, and that's what spelled their downfall. This game, however, I do see as a shootout. This is going to be the highest scoring game of the week, but I also have Dallas winning this one and going to 1-1 against those Los Angeles Chargers.
There we go.
All right, let's move on to the next game. We have the Las Vegas Raiders, winners last night against the Baltimore Ravens in overtime, going up against those Pittsburgh Steelers.
All right, so why don't you tell me who you think's going to win here, Sam?
To be honest, this is going to be an interesting game. Vegas's defense is not very good against the run. The Steelers, however, their run game wasn't that great last week going against Buffalo. I mean, they both had a pretty hard time beating. Neither of them scored a lot of points on offense without a lot of help. The Raiders, of course, with that last minute, that overtime strip sack, and of course the touchdown, which was nobody expected that.
No, not at all.
And Steelers, of course, they beat the Bills. They beat them pretty good. This one, man, I struggled with this one. I went back and forth, but I got the Steelers winning this one, going to 2-0.
Yeah, I agree with you. I went back and forth. This is one of those matchups I really don't want either one to win because rooting for the hometown, you don't want Steelers to win. Rooting for Broncos, my other old hometown, I don't want Raiders to win. So, but I was looking at it, and I don't have the stats and all the personnel and everybody that Brady's got, but but just looking at it, and I'm like, okay, so I think part of Vegas winning was new stadium, got fans in it. I think it energized them. They're going to be coming east, playing Pittsburgh at home, which is always hard to beat Pittsburgh at Heinz Field. So, Steelers defied a lot of our predictions last week. They're doing better than we all thought they were going to do. So I think Steelers are going to come out with it.
All right, let's move on to the next game on our list. We have the San Francisco 49ers, a little scared from the Lions last week against a surprising Philadelphia Eagles team who just trounced Atlanta. Who you got?
I got the 49ers here. I don't think, yes, the Eagles did, again, another one of these upsets that we weren't expecting at all, but they just, I don't think they quite have the personnel and the depth to go against San Francisco, especially they got Jay back. They got a couple of their personnel back. They're coming off a win. Yeah, it's in Philly, so kind of going against my point from previous game we mentioned, it's still San Francisco coming east. It's always harder to go east than it is to go west, time zone and jet lag and all that. But I just think San Francisco's got a little bit more to them right now, and I think they're going to come to town and win.
The Philadelphia Eagles were not challenged at all last week by Atlanta, and that was unfortunate. I think if they had challenged them a bit more, that outcome would have changed dramatically. San Francisco, however, they threw the ball all over the Lions last week, considering they are now missing Raheem Mostert. He's out for the season. But their backup was incredible. And if you got room on your fantasy team, he's the guy to pick up this week. The Eagles, I think they had a good game, but I don't think it happens again this week. I got San Francisco going away with this one. All right, let's move on to the Tennessee Titans, losers last week to the powerhouse Cardinals. Weird to say. Going against those Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, so why don't you tell me how you think this game is going to go down, Sam?
For this one, Tennessee, it's hard to see them losing twice in a row. This is a tough team. This is a strong run team, and if they control time of possession, I think that they could have this one in the bag. However, Russell Wilson and that receiving core, they are tough to defend. They throw the ball all over the place. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, they were all over the end zone last week. I have Seattle in this one, a close, low-scoring game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Seattle's going to come away with this. I think they're going to come out on top early, and I think they're going to keep it. But I think it's going to be 1-for-1, but they're just going to keep the lead throughout the game. I don't know how low it's going to be. I think it's going to be a couple. But yeah, I'm picking Seattle on this. I think not that Derrick Henry's number is up, but he didn't look very effective last week. The Cardinals held him, and Seahawks I think are a better team than the Cardinals. And if they watch that tape, I think it's going to answer a couple questions for them. So I'm agreeing with you, Seattle.
All right. Now let's move on to the Sunday night game. The Ravens losing in overtime, of course, to the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Kansas City Chiefs surviving a scare against the Cleveland Browns, a really good team in their own right. Who do you got in this one?
So I'm going with Baltimore. I think part out of hope, part out of just, I don't know. My brain's kind of been racking. This one was a little harder because this is a matchup. This is one that Baltimore fans and I think the Ravens really want to win, especially after last week where, I mean, a couple, as we discussed earlier with the Cowboys, a couple management calls, a couple of jitters. I think early season, especially with, I think Ravens just been kicked while they're down with personnel. So I'm hoping that they're working this week. They're coming home. This is a home game, the first home game of the season. So I'm hoping that, I'm thinking that coming home, be able to energize them. The Chiefs didn't look as dominant as they did last week. So I'm thinking Baltimore, but it's going to be a very close game.
This is going to be a very good game, and I agree with you that it's going to be a very close game. Baltimore, of course, as everyone knows, is on their fourth and fifth string running backs at this point, picking people off the street just to see if they fit. Kansas City, yeah, the passing game was great last week for them. They threw the ball quite a bit. The problem with both of these teams right now is the same thing, and it's on the defensive side, I think, because the Ravens' running game was actually pretty good last week.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the Ravens' lack of a secondary good cornerback is going to come back to bite them. Kansas City has just too many weapons for them to defend with what they got. I got Kansas City winning this one, even though I want Baltimore to win. But it should be exciting to say the least.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, we're going to move on to our quick hitters. And we're going to start with the New York Giants at the Washington football team.
All right, so why don't you tell me first there, Sam?
All right. Thursday night football, the Giants, both teams lost. One's got a backup QB. This week, I have the Washington football team with a backup QB.
All right, I went the other way. I think the Giants are going to be able to pull this off.
All right, let's move on to the Bengals at the Bears.
I got this is at home. This is in Chicago. I think the Bears defense going to hold out here, so I'm going with Chicago.
The Bengals, of course, winners in overtime last week against the Vikings. The Bears look terrible. I got the Bears too. All right, now we have the surprising Houston Texans going against the Cleveland Browns. And in my opinion, last week was a fluke for Houston, and Cleveland is a tough team. Cleveland's going to beat the snot out of them this week.
I completely agree. I think it's going to be very one-sided.
Yes. All right, let's move on to the Los Angeles Rams and the Stafford-led offense going against the Indianapolis Colts.
Yep, I'm rooting again. I'm not rooting, but I'm going against my former favorite team here. The Colts just didn't look good. They don't have enough pieces. They looked less than what I was hoping they would be. The Rams have too many pieces. They're coming in strong. They're coming in hard. I got the Rams on this.
Yeah, that defense of the Rams is going to be tough for them to overcome. I got the Rams in this one, holding the Colts to a low score this week. All right, let's move on to the Buffalo Bills losers last week and the Miami Dolphins who beat New England last week. Very surprising, of course, but I have Buffalo bouncing back in this one. They're just too good to stay bad.
Right, I completely agree with that. This is the Bills. I think they're just going to come back from this, especially with the division game. Stuff's on the line. They're going to come out with this.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to the aforementioned New England Patriots going against those New York Jets.
Both teams without a win going into week 2, but I just don't think the Jets are good enough to really pull anything out of the hat. I'm going with New England.
Considering both of these teams are in the same division, excuse me, my goodness, little gastric burp. Anyway,
are there other kinds?
Nope, guess not. I have the Jets getting grounded in this one. New England for the victory. All right, let's move on to the New Orleans Saints going ham all over Green Bay last week, going against the Carolina Panthers who beat the Jets last week. New Orleans, their defense just looked incredible. I have them winning.
Yeah, I've got New Orleans. They proved me wrong last week. They went, "How dare you go against our team? We're going to prove you wrong, random guy on the internet." So they proved me wrong. I'll go with them, New Orleans.
You know what's funny? I think Jessica was the only one to pick them to go to the Super Bowl, and he looked
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, well, that's why I messaged everybody. I'm like, "How's everybody who picked Green Bay?"
Oh, yeah. Give them time. They'll bounce back. All right, let's move on to the Denver Broncos playing against those Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yep, I'm rooting for my team. I'm rooting for Denver. They looked really good. Jacksonville looked better than they've looked in years, but I don't think they have all the pieces in place that Denver seems to have. I'm going with Denver.
They started to turn it around a little bit towards the end of that game. Yeah. The Jaguars did. The Broncos, Teddy Bridgewater looked pretty good last week, but he was constantly pressured by a Giants team that isn't very good on defense, which is a concern for me. And without Jerry Jeudy, I actually have the upset on this one. Jaguars getting their first victory.
Yeah, I'm not a big Jeudy fan. I don't see that he's made a difference at all ever in his career there. This first year there, he did absolutely nothing. He didn't get to. Now that was with other quarterbacks in different situations. That was Flacco, but I don't think it's going to really make a difference as much as Cortland Sutton is being back in the lineup. So
true. Sutton is a much better receiver right now. Jeudy could get there. We'll see.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to the 0-1 Vikings going against those crazy Cardinals who shellacked the team they played last week. in the Titans, and you know what? I see them shellacking the Vikings this week.
I completely agree with you.
All that shellacking.
Shellacking.
Let's move on to the next game. We have that Atlanta Falcons team getting trolled, of course, by Tom Brady this week. Taking a picture of the clock that said 3:28. Everybody knows that was the score they came back from. What Brady came back from with New England.
Yep. So to me, it's not even a contest. Falcons barely showed up last week. Tom Brady's still looking good, unfortunately. So I got the Tom Brady's.
I have the Tom Brady's too. I can't even pretend like I'm picking the Falcons. They were terrible this week.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the Monday night game, the last game of the week. We have the Lions going up against the Green Bay Packers.
I'm going with Detroit on this one. Green Bay just did not look good to me. I think, like a couple of these teams, I said they're going to bounce back. I don't see like Green Bay's got some work to do in their personnel. It kind of looks like Aaron Rodgers just like threw in the towel. So he's got to turn around and like put forth some effort, I think, to win. So I'm going with Detroit on this.
Big upset on Tarik's part. I have Green Bay on this one. I have them bouncing back big. Both teams gave up a lot of points, and I think Aaron Rodgers is pissed.
Yep.
All right, folks. We'll have to see. All right, folks. Thank you for joining us. It has been a wonderful week, and of course, we love you guys. We love football.
Football.
Yeah, that's right.
So if you liked the video, give a thumbs up. Let us know you're watching it. Leave a comment. Tell us how you think. Tell us if you think we're wrong, if you think we're right. Let us know. Hit that subscribe button so you know when we're uploading videos. And thanks again for watching, guys.
Absolutely.
As always, I'm Tarik.
I'm Sam. And you guys have a great football week.
Bye.